So this was an article that was published by National Interest, and it says here, Isolationism 2.0, Donald Trump and the future of the liberal order. So this guy basically says, okay, there's not going to be a world war because, you know, we're so entrenched, we're so intertwined in this international community. And I disagree with the author on this one, on that point. But where I agree with the author is that isolationism is becoming popular again. And it says here, thankfully, okay, so et cetera, et cetera. So he says here, where the 1930s analogy does work well, however, is in the domestic politics of American foreign policy. Back then, military disappointments produced a powerful isolationist movement that hobbled the country's foreign policy and prevented Washington from responding effectively to an increasingly challenging international environment. That same pattern is repeating itself now. The real danger to be worried about today is not foreign aggression escalating into World War III. Well, that's what I'm worried about. It is the continued decay of the liberal international order thanks to homegrown American feckleness. So he gets a little bit into the history of this idea. Basically, to sum it up, he says that there were laws in the United States during World War II that prohibited the sending of American arms to belligerent nations, and this was formed by, these laws were there because of the existence of isolationists in the American Congress. So I summed that one part up. So he talks about the new isolationism, and there's a part here basically saying that American isolationism, if you want to know the roots of the current day isolationism that we're seeing, it goes all the way back to Iraq and Afghanistan. Americans said, we don't want to repeat that mistake again, so we want isolationism. And let's care about Americans, let's stop caring so much about other countries, etc., etc. So he talks about Donald Trump, and it says, Trump rejects the post-war order's basic assumptions. He believes in protectionism rather than free trade, competition rather than cooperation, and authoritarianism rather than democracy. Trump has no appetite for positive-sum games because he lives in a zero-sum world. He resurrected the old America First label for his foreign policy because he agrees with its ideology. For him, the United States has no real connection to the world beyond its borders. Everything is cash and carry. Okay, it says here, so during 2023, Ukrainian forward progress stalled and Trump regained his hold on the Republican Party. He turned support for Kiev into a partisan wedge issue, demanding that his followers accommodate Moscow and sell out America's partner. The more his political fortunes revived, the more his attempt to set a new party line gained traction. And now, thanks to the opposition of his minions, aid is about to be cut off. So let's fast forward here because he gets into this World War II analogy. Where he compares what Putin is doing to what Hitler did, but I don't really see much. I think that analogy is inadequate. If Trump wins, however, all bets are off, and not just for Ukraine. It is likely that in his second term, an angry and empowered Trump would move more quickly, forcefully, and effectively to achieve his goals, among which be a more isolationist foreign policy. Self-interested transactionalism would be everything. Gone would be any sense of teamwork or partnership and with others on equal terms and collective endeavors. So then you fast forward to what's been going on in Europe. Because remember what Trump said. He said, basically, if a European country gets hit by Russia, I'm not really going to help them if they're not paying their due to NATO, etc., etc. Now, you could argue and say, well, he was talking about countries that aren't paying their fair share to NATO. But that doesn't really matter. What matters is the perception that Trump provides. Trump is providing this perception that America is not reliable, that America, is not, that the reliability on America is unstable, that it is capricious, and that it is not tenable. So, therefore, the Europeans have to make Europe great again. And by that, they mean Germany great again. So now you go to Europe, And I saw this article that was published recently on Zeit Online. And look at the title. Robert Habeck advocates expanding military research in Germany. Oh, look at that. And you have this perfect storm that is developing. You have the rise of Trump again. You have what looks like to be a future Trump presidency for the next election. And with that said, you have the Europeans saying, oh my gosh, looks like this Trump guy is going to win. We better build our military infrastructure. So it says here, Habeck wants to strengthen innovations in the areas of security and military capability. The Germans' unfortunately mistaken hope for eternal peace is not taking the country any further. It says here, Federal Minister of Economics Robert Habeck. Habeck, by the way, sounds like an Arabic name. Robert Habeck has spoken out in favor of strengthening military research in Germany. We have to get better in terms of security and defense capability, and getting better also means strengthening innovation, the Green politician told the Handelsblatt. Other countries, such as Israel, are further in the area. The vibrant startup industry that also grew out of the military complex, drones, high-tech, cybersecurity, many byproducts emerged from the work on this. Germany, on the other hand, has long done too little in the area of security in the unfortunately mistaken hope that eternal peace had reached the continent. Basically, we have also downsized in terms of innovation and research. Germany should ideally have had defensive weapons such as high-tech interceptor drones years ago, etc., etc., etc. The Research and Innovation Expert Commission had previously called for greater integration of civil and military research. New material and new technologies arrive too late for the Bundeswehr. I say this very openly, we cannot continue like this. So the Minister of Economics, Federal Minister of Economics in Germany, Robert Habeck, is saying that Germany can no longer continue in the way it is. It has to strengthen itself militarily. Conscription. It's conscription coming back in Germany. Very interesting. Here's another article. In view of the shortage of personnel in the Bundeswehr, Federal Defense Minister Pistorius is examining various options. Could this mean that conscription would come back in Germany? The current state of the debate. Defense Minister Boris Pistorius has various options for compulsory service examined by April 1st. Germany should become war ready, he says. Conscription could play a role in this, and the Swedish model could be a role model. So it looks like they want to bring back mandatory conscription in Germany. And what would this mean? This would mean bringing back the draft. That's what this would mean, bringing back the draft. There is also talk in Germany about the Swedish model, which is considered unique and innovative, etc., etc. Conscription is a suitable means for Germany to recruit a sufficient number of soldiers for the Bundeswehr, particularly in times of increased threats or conflict. Conscription could enable additional rapid mobilization, etc., etc. So they're talking about bringing back the draft. However, the CDU and CSU support the idea of reintroducing compulsory military service in order to ensure the security and defense of the country. So the CDU, the Christian Democrats, and the Christian Social Union both support bringing back the draft. What's also interesting is that the AfD, the German Nationalist Party, that is one of the biggest parties in Germany right now, also believes in bringing back the draft. This is very interesting considering that nationalists in Europe and the United States love to tout how nationalists are not interventionists, how they are not militarists, they simply want to focus on Germany. Well, here you have the German Nationalist Party saying that they want to bring back a mandatory, compulsory military service. Make no mistake about it, even if the nationalists dominate Germany, the Germans will still pursue the idea of militarism. In fact, with nationalism, militarism becomes even more amplified. Because with this idea of nationalism, this idea of being proud in your race and proud in your country, proud of your country, with this ideology comes the idea of having a very strong military. So they want to make Germany's military great again, so to speak. They are, of course, German politicians who are against the draft, but nonetheless, the idea of bringing back compulsory military service is becoming a part of mainstream discourse. And here is another article. The active troops start the war and the reserves end it. The Bundeswehr's Deputy Inspector General Markus Lubenthal admires the determination of the Ukrainians. He draws a central lesson for Germany from Putin's war of aggression. Germany is lacking soldiers, both active and reservists. The Deputy Inspector General of the Bundeswehr, Markus Lubenthal, therefore welcomes the debate about reintroducing compulsory military service. So you have it right here, coming from this major military official in Germany. And then there was a poll that was taken amongst thousands of Germans. I want to say amongst about 19,000 or so Germans. And the majority of the people who were polled said yes, that they agree with the idea of bringing back compulsory military service. According to the NDR Fragged survey, the majority of those surveyed do not see the Bundeswehr as being able to adequately defend Germany against an attack. There is therefore a lack of equipment and personnel. Many are in favor of reintroducing compulsory military service. NDR Fragged wanted to know in the latest survey, Bundeswehr under pressure, do we need conscription back? A clear majority answers this question with yes. The most important arguments for a reintroduction: young people gain important personal experience, and the willingness to defend themselves must be increased. Now, I must add that the majority of the young people who were polled said that they don't want to be forced into the military. But nonetheless, a majority of the people who were polled overall said that they agree with the idea of bringing back compulsory military service. Now, young people say they don't want to go to war. Who the hell wants to go to war? It doesn't really matter. What matters is what the occasion calls for. And in the occasion of a war, it would definitely call for a draft, a major war, especially against Russia. And here's an article that was published by The Sun, and it says, while Washington dithers on aid to Ukraine, Europe is stepping into the van. And it basically talks about, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it basically talks about how all these European countries, Germany, Finland, have been working to boost up their military capabilities. It talks about the Netherlands, how the Europeans, the Czechs, have been really taking hold of the steer in the war against Russia, while the Americans are slowly withdrawing themselves from this conflict. So there you have it. There you have it. We're seeing the rise of Europe. We're seeing the rise of Europe. And we are seeing American isolationism becoming more and more popular. And that's why we see people like what's his name? Tucker Carlson being so popular. And there was something else I wanted to show you guys. I thought this was very weird, but very revealing at the same time. Let me see if I can find it here. Here it is. There's this guy on Twitter. His name is Dom Lucre, and he posts a lot of right-wing stuff on Twitter. And I did not expect to see this, but I was looking at this yesterday. I was looking at Twitter, and this popped up in my feed. It was pretty crazy. But this Dom Lucre guy, he always posts stuff against Hillary Clinton. He posts stuff against... he posts stuff talking about Jeffrey Epstein. And so for the first time, at least that I've seen, he is posting something on Hitler. And once I saw the Hitler video, I thought to myself, well, this can't be good, right? Because nowadays, when people post videos on Hitler, it's no longer to talk about the danger of Nazism. It's to talk about how great Hitler was and how we were on the wrong side, how Hitler was a hero, etc., etc. So it says here, developing graphics. So he posts this video of Hitler, and Hitler has been, this Hitler speech has been, I guess, dubbed by AI so that the speech of Hitler will appear as though Hitler is speaking English or something like that. What disturbs me more, now the post is the post, right? Dom Luker is not saying, I love Adolf Hitler, but he is saying in the post, in this speech, Hitler expressed where his anti-Semitism stemmed from, his goals and his thoughts on America, etc., etc. And he's saying here, I'm getting hundreds of requests to upload these speeches. Now, why would this guy be getting hundreds of requests to upload Hitler speeches? That's very weird. Now, this post has so far 2.6 thousand comments. And I was looking through the comments, and it was like, it's as if almost every comment is sympathetic to Hitler. Take a look at it yourself. Have you heard this suppressed speech from Malcolm X? Too much noticing going on. And Malcolm X is talking about the Jews. How it started. Nazis take over Rothschild Bank. Europa, the last battle. And this is a neo-Nazi propaganda video about basically justifying the Nazis and what they did. The whole Hitler situation is a lot more complicated than most realize. He tried to exterminate a race based on the crimes of the elite, so I don't condone his atrocities, but at the same time, but as time goes on, you realize it wasn't about creating a master race at all. Here's the full speech in his own tongue, not AI translated. There are some people who are against Nazism, but you're seeing a lot of pro-Nazi stuff. A lot of pro-Nazi stuff. The Nazis were not killed. They were brought to America to destroy it from its side. It said, well, this guy's against the Nazis. So there is some hope. Very interesting. You have this guy, Ron Unz. I've seen this guy. He's a Jewish guy who's into eugenics. And this guy says, what did American intelligence have to say about the Holocaust in the years following World War II? The Jewish groups and pro-communist groups were gaining a stronghold over American media. LOL. Ron Unz on Beatty and the perception that Jewish activism pushed America to war with Germany. Very strange that you have a Jew talking like that. Very strange. But I guess it shouldn't be as strange as we suspect that it should. Anyway, guys, what do you guys want to talk about?